Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Today, one single statement has set the cat amongst the pigeons and has rattled the political corridors. Look at this tweet that was put out by Parliamentary Affairs Minister Prahlad Joshi. It reads, and I quote, "Special session of Parliament from 18th to 22nd of September amid Amrit Kal, looking forward to fruitful discussions and debate in Parliament." Bland, to the point, no specific reason on what this session was all about, and that's when it all began. What happened after that can probably be called a political tsunami. Speculations and murmurs began in the corridors of power that the centre will bring in a bill of one nation, one poll. This essentially means that the entire country will have elections together at one time, saving time, money, effort, and of course, giving a lot of emphasis to uninterrupted governance and building the infrastructure that this country so badly needs. Of course, this proposal has been in the ether for long now. In fact, in 2018, the Law Commission had said that simultaneous polls cannot be held under the existing framework of the Constitution, and several amendments would have to be brought in. On July 27th this year, Law Minister Arun Ram Meghwal had informed the Parliament that Law Commission was still examining the issue. But that doesn't stop the opposition from fear-mongering and posturing. Congress's Mallikarjun Kharge was the first to dig in his heels when this speculations question were put to him. Just listen to him and hear him declare, "Let them bring the bill, we will fight it."
खड़गे साहब, स्पेशल सेशन बुला रही है सरकार, वन नेशन वन इलेक्शन बिल ला सकती है।
Assuming this is correct, assuming they want to bring in one nation, one election, it's very difficult to understand what that means. Our system is not like the American system. One government falls or one particular state assembly gets dissolved. You can't, because of that, have an election in the entire country.
And we're bringing to you the inside scoop on One Nation, One Poll buzz. Top sources are telling Times Now that simultaneous assembly and Lok Sabha polls are possible, as there will be polling in 5 states in December. That is in Telangana, Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh, Mizoram and Rajasthan. Already elections are supposed to take place end of the year. In April 2024, 3 NDA-friendly states like Andhra Pradesh, Odisha and Sikkim will go to vote. One BJP-ruled state, Arunachal Pradesh, will also vote in that time. Maharashtra and Haryana, which have NDA at the helm of affairs, could also go in for early state polls because in any case, in 2024, elections are scheduled in these states as well. Sources say simultaneous polls are therefore possible in 11 states and 1 union territory, provided both the centre and states decide mutually on curtailing the term. Another statement that has attracted curiosity is the centre telling the Supreme Court that it is ready for elections in Jammu and Kashmir anytime now because the electoral rolls have already been revised. So that makes it possibly now at least 11 to 12 states that are ready to go to polls. And giving us details on how this will work is Madhav Das Gopalakrishnan, who's joining me on the NewsHour tonight. And Madhav, it seems even without too many amendments, 12 states can come together with this Lok Sabha election, and most of these states, the BJP can control the narrative as well as the timetable.
Well, absolutely. And in fact, Navika, first and foremost, let's put out a disclaimer for our viewers that this is what top sources are indicating about a possible scenario. But this is a very possible legal scenario if the centre and the BJP, the ruling party at the centre, do make up their mind. And why are we saying this? Because we are talking about those states that are ruled by the NDA, as well as those states that are ruled by parties that are being friendly to the NDA, for instance, voted along with the NDA inside of Parliament. And these, of course, are the 5 states that are scheduled to go for the polls at the end of the year in any case. Apart from that, are next year's states that are headed to the polls. In April, we have 4 states, one of which is the BJP. 3 other states are ruled by parties that are currently seen to be amenable to at least the NDA and the BJP, or are friendly parties, if we can put it that way. There's also, of course, Maharashtra and Haryana, which are ruled by the BJP. If those assembly terms are curtailed and Lok Sabha polls are held by the end of the year, simultaneous polls are possible with at least 12 assemblies and the Lok Sabha happening. But again, this is in the realm of possibility at this point of time. No final decision has been taken, but at least the legal hurdles and the legal challenges that are bound in as complicated a matter as holding one nation, one poll, which would include at least 5 constitutional amendments and several amendments to the Representation of People Act. All of those hurdles can perhaps be skipped. And there's also a very important other part of this. Remember, one of the possible solutions to the vexed issue of what would happen if governments fall is that there could be a possibility of a midterm poll, like happens in other democracies, like for instance United States, where the remainder of the assemblies could hold their elections at a period 2.5 years after the Lok Sabha poll. So that is one possibility which would put pressure perhaps even on opposition parties and other political parties to fall in line, because the government can very well say that we have sacrificed power and we have curtailed assembly elections early in the national interest, and all political parties should perhaps do so. Will that happen or not is a completely different scenario, and how opposition will perhaps react to this is certainly a matter of speculation at this point of time. But that is a very possible legal situation that we are talking about at this point of time. Remains to be seen, of course, whether this will actually happen on ground. Navika.
Well, Madhav, great inside scoop on Times Now, on the NewsHour, and thank you very much for joining me on the NewsHour. We will get you, ladies and gentlemen, more voices and apprehensions of the other opposition parties. But first, let's explain which state will be impacted and how. Here are the states and union territories that have completed more than half their term and may have to go to polls if the government goes in for the constitutional way of amending the constitution. And these include Maharashtra, Haryana, Jharkhand, Odisha, Andhra Pradesh, Arunachal Pradesh, Sikkim, West Bengal, Kerala, Assam, Tamil Nadu, Puducherry, Bihar and Delhi. Now let's get you the states which are due to go to polls in December this year. Can an amendment be made for a one-time extension of their term to coincide with 2024? And that will include Telangana, Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh, Mizoram, Rajasthan, and possibly Jammu and Kashmir as well. Let's tell you about the assemblies which won't be completing their midterm by April of 2024 and may have to go for polls in a separate phase. Those will include Tripura, Meghalaya, Nagaland, Punjab, Uttarakhand, Uttar Pradesh, Goa, Manipur, Gujarat, and Himachal Pradesh and Karnataka. And these will have to go separately. This, if the government wants to include and bring in constitutional amendments, but the 12 states that we already told you can be done with just one amendment, which is to extend the term of the 5 states going to polls in December. Is it possible? Very much so. Tell our sources, to our people on the ground, and very much in the realm of possibility. Now, let's listen in to why other opposition parties are seeing red over this possibility of one India, one poll. Listen in.
देखिए, ये चर्चा चलाई जा रही है कि वन नेशन वन इलेक्शन का कोई बिल पास करने के लिए सेशन बुलाया जा रहा है। निश्चित रूप से ये एक मोदी जी की घबराहट साफ तौर पे दिखाई पड़ रही है। 3 राज्यों के चुनाव बीजेपी हारने जा रही है।
तो बगैर हम राय मशवरा कर बगैर सारे स्टेक होल्डर्स से पूछकर, बगैर इलेक्शन कमीशन की रिपोर्ट लेकर, बगैर उनसे ये पूछकर कि ये पॉसिबल है या नहीं पॉसिबल है, बगैर वो सिक्योरिटी सर्विसेज से पूछ करके इतना हम कर पाएंगे कि नहीं कर पाएंगे एट द सेम टाइम, बगैर उन स्टेट गवर्नमेंट से पूछकर कि क्या वो सहमत है या नहीं सहमत है, बगैर चीफ मिनिस्टर्स को साथ में लेकर अगर वो ये निर्णय लेते हैं हम उसका विरोध करेंगे।
BJP is a very sensitive matter. BJP should make an in-depth study, talking to all the stakeholders involved with this, and they should come out with a thing. Otherwise, it would appear to be a political gimmick just for their political gains.
हमारे दो की राजनीति करने वाली भारतीय जनता पार्टी अडानी मामले में पुनः कहीं ना कहीं कटघरे में खड़े हो रही है, तो उससे ध्यान भटकाने के लिए चुनाव की चर्चा शुरू कर दी है।
So, ladies and gentlemen, the legitimate question on the NewsHour tonight: what will be Modi's 18th September masterstroke? That's the question, and that's the debate coming up on the other side.
You're watching the NewsHour first. Debate number 1 on Times Now, Super Prime Time.
Joining the debate tonight, Dr. Ajay Alok, national spokesperson of the BJP, Smita Prakash, editor, ANI, Sabha Naqvi, senior journalist, Tehseen Poonawala, political analyst, Ghanshyam Tiwari, national spokesperson of the Samajwadi Party, Professor Subodh Mehta, national spokesperson of the RJD, Advocate Waris Pathan, national spokesperson of the AIMIM, and Dr. Akash Deep Muni, political analyst, supports the Aam Aadmi Party. And let me ask Tehseen Poonawala first. Tehseen Poonawala, if this formula actually comes in, Formula 1, the simple one, 12 states go to polls with the Lok Sabha elections, one amendment to the existing states which are expected to go to polls end of the year. And I don't think any state will mind getting 3 or 4 months extra to govern. That's the most likely scenario and easiest scenario. On the other hand, of course, is the more complicated, many amendments, state, center, which will require amendments to Article 83, 85, 172, 174 and Article 356. But if the first proposition gets through, do you think the India alliance will have to go back to the drawing board? Every political party will be running back to their states to fight state elections. Lok Sabha elections can then become the second priority for all the regional parties. And is that a formula that is the masterstroke of Prime Minister Narendra Modi to set the cat amongst the pigeons in the opposition ranks?
Every time the word masterstroke is used, it sends shivers down the spines of citizens of India, because every time the Prime Minister comes up with a masterstroke, the country goes in a tailspin and its economy collapses and other things collapse around the country. We saw that in demonetization, GST, and in other so-called masterstrokes of the Honorable Prime Minister. But let's take off what is being said on your channel. You're saying that the Prime Minister and the BJP to retain power in 3 states particularly, but 5 states which he's going to lose: Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, Chhattisgarh, Telangana, and Mizoram, which he's going to lose powers. This is the ETG polls that showed it on Times Now, has now come up with a masterstroke that, listen, we will postpone these elections to these states by a few months so that the BJP can retain power. To use parliament as a rubber stamp and to use the cloak of democracy in Amrit Kal only to come to power, I think is, and to call that a masterstroke, I think nothing is sadder for democracy than that. So you extend the term of an assembly so that you can come to power back again, because you're going to lose those state assemblies. That's not masterstrokes. That's being clever by half. Point number 1, if the Prime Minister is so concerned about having simultaneous polls together, ask the Honorable Prime Minister to call the special session of Parliament, resign, and have the polls along with Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, Telangana. Why postpone these state polls? And that's what that's what shows the insecurity of the BJP. They don't want to give up power. There's a second aspect to this which should be very worrying. And the aspect to this is, if the BJP can go to this length only to win state polls, and we know every time the BJP has lost states, the length it's gone to come back into power, whether it's Maharashtra, erstwhile Karnataka, or even in other states that it's done. What will it do if in 2024 the BJP loses power? Will they even consider handing over power? Because look at this, you're calling delaying
No,
polls
why
to
do you
states where you're
why
gonna
do you
lose-
even raise
to
that
lose.
question? They lost Karnataka. Did they not hand over power?
What happened
They
in
lost
2017?
Himachal Pradesh.
May I
Did they
please?
not hand over power?
No, they
Are
did
they
not.
still
May I-
sitting in the
may I
chief
please?
minister's chair? You know, you're
please?
raising
No,
you're
no,
raising
can I
questions
please
which
be
are
allowed
so
to answer that?
hypothetical
No, that's
and
not
bizarre.
hypothetical. That's not. If please allow me to. When they lost Karnataka 2018 or they lost Madhya Pradesh, the way they came to power, Yadurappa ji's bite on Times now is all those who defected from Congress will be made ministers. If that's not bribing, what is? And they formed a government again. You all called it Masterstroke. It was unethical, immoral. They lost power. Look at the way they came in Maharashtra in power. Look at the way in Karnataka. And right now they're ready to extend the assembly term because ETG Times now polls show that they're losing the terms. If this is not actual murder of democracy, what is? You'll extend the term till you
Well,
can win the election.
while your questions are valid, but conversation on morality in politics, I think completely out of place. Tehseen Poonawalla, nobody can stand on the pulpit to talk about morality amongst any of the political parties in our country. But Ajay Alok, respond to Tehseen Poonawalla and answer, are you really scared, or are you worried, or are you really looking to turn and twist the constitution and challenge the democratic values of this constitution?
Navika ji, I do understand that politics is always pregnant with possibilities, but I am really wondering what's wrong with these guys. Here on the screen, Tehseen, my friend, is saying that we want to extend the assembly election. Somebody from Ghavandia is saying in Mumbai that we want to prepone the election. When did we announce that what agenda is going to come up from 18 to 22nd? Did we announce that? Just on speculation, they are making that they are getting jittery. What in medical you classically call restless leg syndrome. That's what these people are facing now. None of the action has been taken because whatever the government will determine, it will come in the Business Advisory Council and it will be notified to the opposition that, well, these are the bills we are going to come up with. Why in a hurry? And why getting jittery? They want to kill this on the bait of the parliament. They want to muddle democracy. No, shock to the nation. Economy will spin out. What happened after demonetization, my dear friend? 4.4 crore taxpayer base gets up to 10 crores. The digital economy of India gets #1 in the world. Today, $10 billion have been crossed through UPI. This is what happened after Notbandi. Don't you consider it an achievement? We are 5th largest economy. Don't you consider this an achievement? You won't consider it. Then you say, वो तो अपने आप हो जाता है. वो formula ऐसा है. वो third भी हम लोग अपने आप बन जाएंगे. You think like it's like made in heaven and just PM is getting feeded by the platinum spoon. What you guys were used to. It's not the same thing. Let's wait for the moment. Let the 18th come, or before that, I guess a week ahead, it will be presented in the Business Advisory Council that what bills we are coming up with. But yes, when 18 to 22nd session has been called, be sure that is going to be very important bills, which you will have to answer. Today you are getting jittery because if this happens, what happens to Ghavandia? It will die before taking birth. Because you guys are full of contradictions in Mumbai. I'll give you an example. In Bihar, what are you doing? RJD, JDU, contradiction. Maharashtra, Shiv Sena, Congress, contradiction. UP, Congress, Samajwadi Party, contradiction. Bengal, Trinamool Congress, CPI Congress, contradiction. So you guys are full of contradiction. And all the things you are counting on only in these 5 states. Rest are minuscule. DMK, you know you're going to be subservient to DMK in Tamil Nadu. So you have to be with them. And imagine your status. The party you accuse of having a hand in killing of Rajiv Gandhi, you are sitting in the lap of that party. And you call of moral and immorality. And the party which is proven to use Article 356 almost 150 times, you call that, that party claims of moral and ethics. What a sham.
Well,
just chill. Nothing to have a restless leg syndrome.
Just one
We'll see what it comes.
Okay, one counter.
Just one point. Just one counter.
Yes.
Ajay ji on your show just accepted something which is stunning. He says the law or the constitution, as may be the case, will be changed only to kill the INDIA alliance. So the Honorable Prime Minister is going to bring in a new law or a constitutional amendment to kill the opposition. If that is not murder, you just said that. That Ghavandia will die if you bring in the law.
Don't try and put your words in my mouth.
You just said that. And the reason
I said the Ghavandia, if that happens, what are you presuming? The Ghavandia will die before taking birth.
So you will change
I
the
said
law
what
to
you're you're presuming if that happens, Ghamandia will die before taking birth.
Navika ji broke the story. If
When
Navika ji
she
would
change the
not
law
have
to
broke
kill
the
the
story,
opposition?
we won't be debating it. She just broke the
First
story.
decide who
She's
is the
saying this may
opposition.
happen.
First you decide, Sachin, where is the opposition? You decide.
INTI is the opposition.
You decide
You
for
just
yourself where is
said
the opposition.
INTI will be
Well,
debated
Sharad
if-
Pawar-
Hold on.
You've just admitted.
Hold on. Let me get in two stalwarts from my world of journalism, Smita Prakash and Sabah Naqvi, back on the newser. Sabah, thank you for joining us back after a long gap. Smita, what are your sources telling you about the special session? And if, as our sources are telling us, if one nation, one poll or 12 states can go to poll with the Lok Sabha elections, will it actually be the masterstroke to somehow create a total disarray in the opposition ranks? And is it something that's likely to happen?
As per what I would guess is that because it's purely speculation now, there is no source which has confirmed all that is being debated upon today, that this one nation, one election, it's not a new concept. India has had it in the 1950s and 60s, but we were a smaller nation. There were fewer states. We had a lesser electorate. So that was in the past. As far as now is concerned, it requires, like you pointed out in the introduction, it requires an amendment. It will have to go to the states. It will need to be passed in the states. It's a mammoth exercise which should have begun maybe in 2022 when the BJP had called an all-party meeting, and that didn't happen. Then parties were not ready to come on board. So I think it was shelved after that. Now, as far as 2023 is concerned, there is talk that it is possible that in the parliament they might bring this about, that there are states which have 6 months before the polls or 6 months after the national polls, their term is ending, so why not have the polls together? They could bring in a debate and they could start this. The point is that it is not a murder of democracy, as Tehseen pointed out, because there are provisions. You yourself know that, right? That dissolving assemblies is possible. They don't need to call a parliament session for that. They can easily dissolve it just by calling a cabinet meeting and going to the president. But if they are calling a parliament session, Navika, I think there is a possibility that they could put forth all the achievements that they have done, whether it's Chandrayaan, whether it is the G20, they bring out all this and say that we've done all this, so we are ready to go to the people. The pitfalls in that. Now, if we say studies which have been conducted show that in many cases simultaneous elections makes people vote the same way, which is, unless it's an ultra sophisticated voter that votes differently for the state dabba and for the center dabba, they tend to vote similarly. So what that happens now, does the BJP want that into everybody knows what happened with Atal Bihari Vajpayee, but also it needs to be pointed out that if the BJP is that confident to call an early poll, that just goes to show that they are ready with an agenda. And as far as the India grouping is concerned, they would have been caught on the back foot, because they had thought that if at least the Congress element in that unit had thought that riding on the success of the 3 elections that they hope to win before the general elections, they would be calling the shots in the India grouping. But if simultaneous elections are called, they will have to rejig their entire program, and they would have to quickly come up with a common minimum program and the seat sharing, which is not yet part of their agenda.
Well, clearly, Sabah Naqvi, the fact is that last time around when this question was raised, and let me tell you, the Prime Minister's been talking about one nation, one poll for several years. In fact, when he first came to power in 2014, since then he's been propagating this theory that it gives uninterrupted time to governments to keep taking decisions. Otherwise, you have model codes of conduct which very often stop the development work. So, it's not the first time he's talked about it. And if it were to come in, it wouldn't take anybody by surprise, because it's been spoken about before. And in the past, the Samajwadi Party which is in alliance or in the India alliance, backed it in 2018. The BRS, not in the India alliance, also backed it. BJD backed it. YSR Congress backed it. So there are several people who have backed on different occasions the one nation, one poll idea. Do you think, without even going into total constitutional amendments, the government can do a trial? Because most of the 12 states would either agree, because they include Andhra, Odisha and all of these states, and the others are NDA states, which can go to polls in 2024. Would the BJP have made a point then?
Navika, the BJP can surely try, because as you're saying, we all know that the idea has been around for a long time, especially since Prime Minister Narendra Modi became the dominant face of the BJP, because he is a dominant sort of absolute leader kind of a figure. So that idea has been around, whereas the old BJP of Vajpayee played around with the federal idea. This kind of an idea is not a great time in case you need allies. Number one, I'll say that. But, however, the session of Parliament, as Smita is saying, I suspect will be about Chandrayaan, will be about G20. It will be the Prime Minister getting the cameras on him, so on and so forth. Now, if you want to do something really radical, bring the women's reservation bill in. Then you really stun everybody and you throw them off all their games. I'm just putting out an idea here. If you really want to make radical changes, then you can do something like that. But I don't think that this one nation, one poll is practically going to be possible. Of course, in theory, we can have all sorts of theory, but it's not legally viable. None of the opposition states are going to agree, even to extend their terms. That's just how politics is. So it's not going to work out unless, the BJP can certainly curtail the terms of Maharashtra and Haryana Assembly and have it with the general election, presuming they're not going for an early election. Now, if they go for an early election, it's even more interesting, because then that tells you that the Ram Mandir issue, which peaks in January, they don't feel the need to have that issue at this point. That is going to be about the Prime Minister and it's going to be about welfare schemes. That's going to be the pitch. Of course, Hindu Asta is always there in the game. If there is an early election, we don't know. Does anyone here know for certainty? In fact, I'd like your opinion on it, Navika. Do you think there's going to be an early election? I personally think that the BJP is going to play every card. We are in election season and every day we're going to speculate. And anyway, so it's not doable. This one nation, one poll is not practically constitutionally doable.
You're saying it's not practically possible, but I think it will be the kind of action that will spread disarray in the opposition ranks. And I want to ask you, Mr. Varis Pathan, if the BJP were to go that route, what will the India alliance do? Because many of those parties will then have to concentrate on their home turfs. And wouldn't that suit the BJP very well as an election opportunity, strategy, call it what you will?
Well, Navika, I am not the part of the INDI alliance, nor I am a part of the NDA alliance. So that question does not arise at all. We are fighting the elections and we have been saying this, and I now reiterate and say that our main intention is to defeat the BJP and to see to it that ensure that Modi does not become the Prime Minister for the third time. This is what we are doing for. But now Modi's and BJP's frustration can very well be seen by the way they are getting this new parliamentary session. We have been asking for a special parliamentary session for a purpose on China. What is Modi's stay on China? What does the BJP have for her? How are we going to secure the boundaries? The China has already entered. There are satellite images to show that we wanted a 2-day session on that. But now suddenly today we are hearing that from 18 to 22nd there will be a specific session of the parliament special, and what will be discussed is through sources. You are telling me that a bill will be introduced for one nation, one poll. I think this is just the frustration of Modi. What our party will take the stand, I don't know that whether we'll support it, we don't support it, but practically how it will go. What will happen to Maharashtra? Still 1 year is left. What will happen to the 4 states which are having elections just in December or January? So we don't know what is without taking into consideration the stakeholders' opinion. It is not good for a political party in power to have such an important bill and a constitution amendment bill. They must at least take into consideration the stakeholders who are there. This is not, that is why we say democracy is at stake. Constitution we have to save, but Modi does not follow the constitution. So this kind of things are happening. Now we are hearing that a UCC bill will also be introduced. A bill on the UCC implementation will also is going to be introduced. Women's reservation bill is also going to be introduced. So no specific things have been mentioned that this will be discussed. Only Amrit Kal, Modi will be blowing his own trumpet that we have done so much things in the last 9.5 years. We have done Chandrayaan. No, Chandrayaan credit must go to the ISRO and not to Modi. That is a very, very clear thing. Now he will be blowing that. Gas cylinder. Now after increasing it to 1,000, reduce it to 200, and you will blow.
That's what I mentioned, Navika. That's what I mentioned in my opening, that these people are suffering from restless leg syndrome. I mean, all kind of presumptions. Varis Pathan has been a member of Legislative Assembly in the past. He must be knowing that there is a Business Advisory Council, and his leader will come to know that what agenda we are going to come up in the Parliament. And when you are mentioning all the things, why didn't you mention places of religious importance? That bill can also be brought. Why not? There are multiple assumptions that you can draw. That what, because you don't know.
Sources are saying that they will be introducing a bill on one nation, one poll. My sources are not saying me anything, sir. My sources and the media are only saying 18 to 22nd there will be a special parliamentary session.
But your problem does not worry us at all.
We are ready to accept the constitution.
Is the how country we should take forward, and that's what Prime Minister is doing. That's what Prime Minister is doing. This is your problem.
Yes, he has taken the country forward.
That what bill is going to come.
You increase 1,000, then you cut 200.
Had it been killing of the democracy, what was the need to call the session? Had it been killing of the democracy, what was the need to call the session?
Let me get in Mr. Ghanshyam Tiwari. Mr. Ghanshyam Tiwari, when the Law Commission is looking, is it not a discussion that is taking place with the stakeholders? The Law Commission is looking at one nation, one election. On several occasions, this question has been asked by the Prime Minister. It's there in the political discourse, and the Samajwadi Party had supported it in 2018. Now, is the Samajwadi Party going to support something like this, which actually is a boon for people of India, because development works will not have to stop every now and then for assembly elections, Lok Sabha elections, municipal elections, because there are model codes of conduct which come into play? Or will you change your mind, because anything that the BJP supports, the Samajwadi Party won't?
Good evening, Navika ji, to you, my fellow co-panelists and the viewers, and a very happy Raksha Bandhan to everyone. Three things are important. One is that the only formal meeting about which the Prime Minister had tweeted was in June 2019. And no, neither Mamata Banerjee ji nor Samajwadi Party attended that meeting or supported it. In fact, Rajnath Singh said a committee will be formed. Prime Minister tweeted about it. Where is that committee? That's one. So these are truly Orwellian times when across the world we are talking about one nation, one businessman. When the government and its favorite businessmen are in the dock for camps that we cannot discuss here. But BJP is coming up with a parliament session that neither the top journalist like you knows about, neither Smita Prakash knows about, nor their spokesperson knows about, nor a single NDA ally knows about. These are Orwellian times where Prime Minister has to face a no-confidence motion to enter Parliament and then face a walkout because he can speak on Manipur. This is the 17th Lok Sabha, which sets the tragic record of least number of Lok Sabha sittings ever. And it beats the 16th Lok Sabha. This is what BJP brings to table in terms of democracy. That the press will not discuss, people will not know. The only minister who has given a word on this, Rajnath Singh, he probably does not know. The people who attended that meeting, including Sitaram Yechuri, does not know. This is not Russia, where we are ruled by a dictator, or China ruled by a dictator. This is parliamentary democracy in India, where an agenda has to be discussed at all levels before it reaches Parliament. But this government neither believes in Parliament, nor does it believe in democracy, nor it believes in telling. Please don't interrupt. I did not interrupt anyone. My final point. I did not interrupt.
No, I just wanted to remind you, don't criticize China.
My final point, that as far as, I'll come to China, but that aside, as far as the situation that the country faces, you mentioned that the Prime Minister has been talking about it. प्रधानमंत्री ऐसे डॉक्टर हैं कि जिस मरीज के बारे में कहते हैं वो मरीज या तो आईसीयू में चला जाता है या कुआं में चला जाता है, मर जाता है. काले धन के बारे में कहा, करप्शन के बारे में कहा, देखिए अडानी जी के साथ क्या हो रहा है, चाइना के को लाल आंख दिखाने की बात की, चाइना हमारे बॉर्डर पे बैठा हुआ है, नोटबंदी के बारे में
well, Ghanshyam Tiwari, I think you've not been in touch with the opinion the Samajwadi Party gave the Law Commission in 2018. They said in the Law Commission, simultaneous elections for centre and state legislative assemblies should start from 2019 itself. That was your position in 2018. In case of a coalition government at the centre as well as at the state level, at the time of formation of the government, the allied parties, while presenting a list of all the members for the coalition government to the president or governor, should give in writing that throughout the tenure of the government, no party will withdraw the support and will continue to work together. This will help in avoiding the situation of a hung parliament assembly due to withdrawal of the support by one or more allies. This was your position, Ghanshyam Tiwari.
It is after this that Rajnath Singh, as Union Home Minister, then chaired a meeting that the parties did not attend. The point is this the model of this government, that you set out an agenda which nobody knows about? I mean, you ask, I can give all my time to Ajay Alok and tell him that what is the explainer for the agenda of Parliament. He does not know. No one here knows. We are debating because
but you are lamenting that there are not enough parliament sessions. When a parliament session is called, you have a problem with why it is being called suddenly. Ajay Alok, har cheez mein dikkat hai. But let me also tell you that Ram Gopal Yadav spoke to the Law Commission and gave all of these statements to the Law Commission. But Mr. Ghanshyam Tiwari still raising questions with you. Please respond.
See, I am not talking about only Ghanshyam Tiwari. I am talking about this whole Ghamandiya alliance. I mean, they are full with so much contradiction. Right now, he's praising China. He's criticizing China. That China is a dictator country. And look what Rahul Gandhi has to say about China. The China is the aspiring superpower. वो सद्भावना का देश है. China से हमें सीख लेनी चाहिए. I mean, first you guys get on one track. Because I know for sure tomorrow only, I'm not saying day after, tomorrow only, people from your Ghamandiya alliance will come and say that if they want to conduct one nation, one election, it's very good, we are with them. If they want to come up with 33% women reservation or 50% women reservation, we are with them. Then what you will do? You guys don't know where you are standing. You guys are so much full of contradiction. Your leader said it in 2018. You were not part of SP then, I know that. So you might not be knowing. Ram Gopal Verma gave this statement, and then also you're contradicting because you don't know what your leader says and what the spokesperson says. And then you said that the BJP spokesperson doesn't know, allies doesn't know. It's a government agenda. I am not a spokesperson for the government. I am the spokesperson for Bharatiya Janata Party. When my government will bring the agenda, all the opposition will be informed that what bills we are coming up with. I make sensible arguments. I'm not living on assumptions like you guys. हम लोग पावर में आ जाएंगे 24 में से करके. I am not under assumption. I am sure that Prime Minister is going to come and BJP is going to retain power. This is the difference between conviction and this is the difference between assumption.
Well,
the country should be run by conviction, not by assumption, like you guys have done in last 70 years.
Let me get in Professor Subodh Mehta of the RJD. मैं पूछना चाहती हूँ मेहता साहब आपसे, why is the opposition calling this a sign of nervousness? Wouldn't this be a sign of utter confidence that the government feels it can pass bills in parliament whenever it wants to? It can decide path-breaking reforms, and this would be a reform whichever way you look at it. Why should this be seen as a sign of nervousness?
Navika ji, first of all, I would like to respond Alok ji, who happens to be my senior also. The way he is naming India Alliance as a Ghamandiya Alliance, this itself reflects how nervousness the whole NDA group is and their spokesperson is, first of all. Now, coming to the topic which you have brought in. Look, one nation, one election and simultaneous election is not a new concept. This concept was unanimously passed by the Constituent Assembly and it was followed till 1967. But due to the megalomaniac approach of Prime Minister Indira Gandhi at that particular time and due to the introduction of 356 many a times, it became a, that simultaneous election has been turned into a every year election. 4 or 5 states comes, every year we have an election. But now the time has crossed. And after 1990, when we look to the resurgence of democratization of democracy in India, which started in 1967, the fruitful result was coming. And when Prime Minister Narendra Modi is most of the time changing the goalpost from one threshold to another threshold through his self-promotional goal and through his megalomaniac approach that he has. He uses UCC, now he comes back to one nation, one election, then he uses ISRO as his credibility, and many a times I can name n number of things, how he through self-promotional goal.
So tell me, Mr. Subodh Mehta, if anything happens in the state of Bihar in the time that you are in power, will you give the credit to the BJP, or will you give it to your own government and your own self? You know, why are you raising arguments, which you yourself won't be able to support? But Akashdeep Muni, my question is simply this: India Alliance meeting in Mumbai, and the Prime Minister has decided there will be a special session of the Parliament. That declaration comes from the government. आकाशदीप मुनि, अभी तो आप सीट शेयरिंग के लेना देना खींचा तानी में लगे हुए थे. अब एक नया फॉर्मूला आ गया है. Now you have to decide whether you have to fight state elections, whether you have to fight Lok Sabha elections. Don't you think this could be a strategy, and that strategy can really put the opposition on the back foot?
No, I don't think so. This is a strategy. This is just rumor. Now, why I say this, let me tell you. This one nation, one poll is not an initiative for one nation, one poll, but it's an initiative of one nation, one party specifically. Because, we have seen what the judgment was in the Keshwananda Bharati case, where the parliament structure cannot be changed. This initiative, if taken, will change parliamentary structure to a presidential form of government, specifically what happens in America. What Madhav was telling some time ago in your show itself. First point. Second point is this will be enriching the parties who have more power in terms of money. National parties, they can spend more money at one time. The state parties, the smaller parties would not be able to spend so much money. That is why they will be, getting backward or segregated in particular, this thing. Third point, what I want to make is that in this particular case, mainly the India Alliance, specifically, India Alliance won't be affected, but it is the Modi who wants to put forward a idea that one nation, one poll. I'll be going by that. The special session will not.
May I inform you that Mr. Modi put this idea in 2014 or 15? That idea has been around. There has been a standing committee which has even presented. The 79th committee of Parliament has actually given this report in 2021, and after which the Law Commission is examining it again. The committee
was opposed by the opposition parties. And it was opposed by Aam Aadmi Party, and they have done number of.
It may have been opposed by your party, but it was supported by Samajwadi Party. The Shiv Sena of Uddhav Thackeray had supported it then. There was the BJD that supported, the YSR Congress that supported it. So Smita, why is everybody thinking that this is just not in the realm of possibility? Are they avoiding the strategic move if it turns out to be one?
One thing, Navika ji.
Look, behind closed doors, since 2018, when all this talk started about one nation, one election, since then, behind closed doors, everybody agrees. But actually, on the record, they don't want to go to support it. 2 points I want to bring. One is that the plus point to this is that the state and central elections together means the expense is saved. Because how much did, I think, 60,000 or 50,000 crores was spent in the 2019 elections. Imagine, that kind of money, where that money could have been used. And to say that regional parties will suffer, no, regional parties also benefit by this. Why? Because they need to spend it only at one go for state election as well as central election. What the regional parties will have to do is educate the public, educate the people that regional issues are different for state elections, and for central elections, it's a different issue. There you need to talk about national security, you need to talk about
Smita,
foreign
but
policy,
the fact
economic
is
issues,
there have been
regional-
state elections along with the Lok Sabha elections in Andhra, in Odisha, and people have voted differently. People have voted differently. And the electorate, fairly well informed, politics in India is not new to the people of India, and they do know who they want, what issues they want them for at the state level, and what they want at the center. Can this actually be true? Sorry, Smita, for interrupting you, and I'm running out of time completely on this debate, but the fact of the matter is that one thing is for sure: the Prime Minister has set the cat amongst the pigeons. What's going to happen? Of course, in the realm of speculations, but educated guesses are there on the table. In the next few days, we'll keep getting you more and more details on what is cooking in the political pot. Till then, thank you all, ladies and gentlemen, for joining me on debate number 1.